glad you brought up Ukraine, because sort of in the context of everything we've been talking about, China is trying to portray itself as a country that can be a peaceful mediator between Russia and Ukraine. And it seems like a lot of countries, the US, the UN, they seem to be believing that could actually be the case. Do you think the Chinese Communist Party would actually be a successful peacemaker in Ukraine?
I think that Beijing could pressure Moscow quite a bit in terms of the war. But I don't think that's their intention. I think that the war in Ukraine actually serves China's purposes. Josep Borrell, the European Union foreign minister, recently said that China is going to take advantage of the Ukraine war, even if Russia is defeated. This is a new statement, an interesting statement by him. In one point, I mean, Russia's entire army almost has been deployed to the far west of the country, away from China. That leaves all of the massive east of Russia and the former Soviet Union totally vulnerable to anything China wanted to do over there eventually. So I think that what Russia is doing in Ukraine is perfectly serving China's purposes. It's also a dress rehearsal of sorts for a Taiwan invasion. China can see exactly what the world does when a democracy is invaded, how long it takes. It's been 14 months since the most recent invasion started. China did nothing but really support Putin during that process. Only when the European Union started basically saying, hey, we're going to take action, economic action against China if they don't, bring Russia to heel, did China then write up this fake peace plan that really didn't do anything. And now they're sending a mediator, supposedly a peace envoy. Now, who is this peace envoy? He was the Chinese ambassador to Russia for 10 years. So clearly you see whose side Beijing is really on. And it's unlikely that we're going to get any kind of proper mediation. I mean, really what needs to happen is the world needs to tell Russia to get the hell out of Ukraine and Crimea. They've taken these places illegally. They're violating the sovereignty of a UN country, a member of the UN that has full sovereignty. They're violating the Budapest Agreement of 1994, where they promised territorial integrity to Ukraine for giving up its nuclear weapons. And the US and UK also promised that to Ukraine. And we're not really doing enough. Really, we ought to have boots on the ground in Ukraine to protect all of the areas that haven't already been captured by Russia.
Do you think that could escalate into an actual confrontation between the US and Russia?
It could, but not, doing nothing can also escalate. The less you do, the more you appease these dictators, the more they want to take and the more they believe they can take. This is exactly what happened in Crimea. We did almost nothing in response to Crimea. And what did Putin do? He took more territory. And he's actually wired up the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant with explosives. That's a nuclear threat to all of Europe, because if that thing blows, you could have a Chernobyl cloud going over large chunks of Europe.
That could make for good TV someday. I mean, the Chernobyl show was great.
And well, Chernobyl has been turned into a theme park now, but.
To clarify for anyone watching, I am not saying that would be good if Putin blew up a nuclear power plant and contaminated all of Europe. I feel like we got to be a lot more careful about the jokes on this show.
Welcome to Jokes Unlaughed At with Chris Chappell and Matt Kniska.
I get you, Matt. I get you so much more now.
Maybe too early. Is it too early? I don't know.
Joke's going to be too early.
Well, so in terms of China's peace plan.
No, sorry, Matt, let me interrupt. My jokes aren't too early. They're just ahead of their time. Carry on, Matt.
I was going to say, because Anders, you mentioned China's peace plan, and I read their peace plan, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Like it's not a good peace plan, because you would think that a peace plan would be a plan that has a steps towards peace. But in fact, their plan is not a plan. It doesn't lay out any steps. It merely lays out some things that China wants, such as to maintain the supply of grain and other trade between the Ukraine and other countries, including China. So, like, that's really lame. Why would we think that a Chinese ambassador, let alone that he was the former ambassador to Russia, but why would this ambassador, who's supposed to be a peacemaker, be better than their sucky peace plan?
Yeah. I had a hard time explaining the situation to my mother, actually, recently, because she was saying, oh, why don't we just negotiate with Russia? And, why don't they just stop fighting and leave it where it is? And I had to bring it down to, well, let's say a thief, an armed burglar takes over your house. And then after he's taken over your house, kicked you out and is living there, he says, well, let's negotiate and just, have peace now while I live in your house. That sort of helped her understand, I think, the situation. You can't just as soon as Ukraine is ready for a counteroffensive, all of a sudden Russia wants to negotiate. China sends a peace envoy, and the obvious approach that they're going to take is, well, let's just freeze the territorial lines where they are and call it a day and call it peace. Well, no, it's not. It's not peace until you leave the country, including Crimea. There's not going to be any peace. On the other hand, there's a danger that Ukraine, because they're eager to prove that all the weapons we've given them they can use them effectively in a counteroffensive to win back territory. There's a danger that they're going to be acting too quickly and just for show, which could be disastrous in terms of Ukrainian lives lost. It's a very tricky situation where, and also President Zelensky has said he wants more weapons. He needs more weapons before he's going to launch this counteroffensive. This is the situation. It's difficult because obviously we can't just provide unlimited weapons. We can't, but we do need to provide enough weapons that they can take back their territory. And then a lot of the lessons we're learning in Ukraine now are going to apply to Taiwan. Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons. I don't think that Russia would have invaded had they kept their nuclear weapons. The same applies to Taiwan. If Taiwan had a nuclear weapon to defend itself, it's unlikely China would invade, I think.